Our Lady of La Leche. That's why we got some chocolate milk over there, because Our Lady of La Leche means Our Lady of the Milk and Happy Delivery. So drink your chocolate milk in honor of Our Lady. No, but yeah, it's Our Lady of La Leche's feast day, which is actually a cool feast day in our diocese because we have a shrine to Our Lady of La Leche in St. Augustine. It's actually one of my favorite places. And she's actually going to serve as the inspiration for our talk this evening on dreaming and just trusting the Lord. So who of you guys likes to dream? Make plans, think about the future. I know that was always me growing up. It's fun, right? But have you guys ever heard of like the American dream? Like, what would you guys say? Like, if I start to say the term American dream, what do you think of? Raise your hand. Natalie. You raise your hand.
Well, it's kind of just to like, the American dream is kind of like to live how you like want to live, like to be able to pursue your dream.
Yeah.
And not be hindered by like anything.
Yeah, like pursue your dream. What else? Not be hindered by anything. Do what you want. What else? Yeah.
Freedom.
Freedom. Yeah. What else? Yeah. I mean, those are pretty good. But when I think of the American dream, I think of like, hey, work hard enough and you can get whatever you want. Like, don't let anybody tell you no. Like, don't stop. If you fail, like, get up, try again. You can do it, right? Which is all really good things, right? Like, we want to work hard. Yet, I found that underlying this American dream mindset, although there's some good things there, there's also a desperate grasp for control, right? It's an assertion of like your will and your desires. Basically saying like, I'm gonna do this no matter what. And for those of us who've ever struggled with like anxiety, I know I have, or control, double hands in the air, we know that like ultimately we can't control the outcome of life all the time. And so when that happens, like what do we do, right? I know some of you guys might be like, no, I like being in control. No, I think I can control my life. Well, tonight I'm going to share my story with you girls and how the Lord has shown me that we can move away from this American dream mindset, and He wants to bring us to a new way to dream. And I kind of term this way the Marian dream mindset because we're going to move away from control and like grasping at what we want to surrendering and trusting and living truly free and joyful in the Lord and His plan for us. So I have little booklets on all of the tables. It can look like this. If you girls want to grab one, it actually has a lot of points from my talk that will be nice for you to follow along. And you can write notes or whatever sticks out to you because we want these nights for you girls to practically apply this stuff into your lives, take this stuff home and put it into your own lives. We don't just want you to leave it here. So please just like open it up, follow along. There's pens, highlighters on the table, and we're just gonna dive in. So my story, I know you guys know me, I'm Josie, all that good stuff, but who am I, right? What's my story? How did I get here? So I grew up in a big Catholic family of 9. So I have 5 older brothers and a little sister, 2 wonderful parents. And I grew up in a very Catholic home, like many of you probably have. You know, my family went to Mass together every Sunday. We prayed morning and night prayers. My mom would go to daily Mass like every day. Went to frequent confession. I went to Catholic grade school. We did all the things, you know, and they taught me the faith very well, and I knew right from wrong, right? But my faith was less of an intimate, personal relationship with the Lord, and more of like more of this knowledge, right? It was more of a transaction. It wasn't personal, right? I had this idea that like if I worked really, really hard, then like if I did all the things Jesus said to do, followed all the 10 commandments to a T, I was like a rule follower, then like yeah, I'll go to heaven, right? Like I can earn heaven that way, right? And yeah, it was this out of this need for control. Like I wanted to control my eternal destiny, so I'm gonna follow all these rules so I can go to heaven. And this is not operating out of a faith of love, but of fear. Basically, it was fear of, I don't want to go to hell, I want to go to heaven, so I'm going to follow these rules. It wasn't like, oh, Jesus, I love you, and I want to be with you forever, so I'm going to go to heaven, right? And so I wanted that control over my destiny of my eternal soul. Sounds kind of like that American dream mindset, right? That I talked about? Yeah, I want control. I wanted to say, I'm going to do this no matter what. And similarly, this desire for control kind of spilled over into my dreams and the way I thought about dreams. So obviously, like, since I was little, my primary dream, and always will be, is to be a saint and go to heaven. Like, that's what I want. Like, that at first and foremost. But second to that, I've always wanted two things. One is to get married and have a family. That was a dream of mine. And two, to be a professional tennis player. Now, I worked hard to achieve these dreams. So with tennis, with that dream, from 11 years old to age 23, so for 12 years of my life, I hardcore pursued this. So I begged my parents to be homeschooled in like the 7th grade. So I was homeschooled 8th grade through high school, so I could train 4 hours a day, travel 2 weeks a month, playing national and international tournaments. I sacrificed a lot so that I could be the best I could be. At the end of college, I ended up being one of the top recruited players in the country, and so I signed to play at the University of Florida because they had one of the best tennis programs in the nation. Yeah, and I had this idea. I never wanted anybody to work harder than me. Sure, like other girls might have more talent, more skill, but like I wanted to be the hardest worker, and like darn it, like I was gonna be the best tennis player I could be, and like be a professional. Like that was my dream. I'm gonna get it. You know, I was just very bent on that, and everything seemed to be going well, right? Like I'm going to a great college, like I'm doing well, like on the path to pro. Similarly, with that dream of wanting marriage and a family. In college, sophomore year, I started dating a good Catholic man. He was attractive, handsome, athletic, all the things that I wanted, you know? So I was like, man, this is working out great. You know, I'm working hard, checking all the boxes, life's going great. And I also want to note that, like, at this point in my life, so I'm in college by this point, you know, I never really strayed from the faith throughout my life. I knew, again, my goal's heaven, and so like from the exterior, I always did the right things. I had a prayer life. I went to mass. On the outside, everybody would be like, "Wow, Josie, she's a great Catholic girl, so pious and holy, blah blah blah." But like looking back now, where my heart was in relationship with the Lord, it was lacking a very key ingredient. In order to truly transform my relationship and go deeper with the Lord, one from just that transactional relationship to one of deep intimacy. And that is two things, humility and surrender. Because I clung tightly to my dreams and my plans, and I was just trying to like white knuckle it and be like, oh, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, like no matter what, right? And so it's amazing when I look at what God did with my life, because the way he deepened my relationship with him is he actually flipped my life upside down in so many ways. And I want to share with you guys 3 specific points in my life that happened in college that really allowed me to go deeper into my relationship with the Lord and to kind of let go of that American dream mindset and choose the Marian dream mindset option. It taught me a new way to dream. So, yeah, a couple of these points. So the first one that I want to mention was actually my sophomore year in college. So again, going into college, I was super pumped and actually had an incredible freshman year of college. By the end of my freshman year, I was ranked number 3 in the nation, and I got to the semis of the national championship, and I was 1 match away from getting into the US Open, like the big tournament you see on TV. I was like, oh, this is awesome, like, man, like, I can't wait to go back and train harder, and like, going into sophomore year, like, I'm gonna do even better, and like, next year I'm gonna turn pro, and like, just finish college online. Like, I was just like, boom, boom, let's go. Like, I could see the light. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, that didn't happen. Sophomore year, I didn't perform well. I struggled a lot with some performance anxiety and just put a lot of heavy expectations on myself. To the point where at the end of the year, I was completely unranked. I was playing at the bottom of my team's lineup, and for the first time ever, I was kind of like, well, shoot, like, my plan's not working, you know? Like, what do I do? Like, who am I without tennis, right? And I really had to sit with that. And so that was the first time that really highlighted there's something wrong here. Like I'm feeling so off by this that I'm not playing well, right? So that was the first point I wanted to mention. The second one was actually a year later. So a year later, it's the end of my junior year now, I did start playing better. And my team was actually competing for a national championship. We were playing in the finals of the NCAA tournament. We were playing at Georgia against Stanford, our biggest rival. We're in the finals, the stadium was packed, like it's so hyped. It's like every athlete dreams of this. I'm like, this is so exciting, like I can't wait to like play well. My teammates, we're gonna win a national championship. And we did. We won a national championship last night, which is like one of the greatest memories that I'll cherish forever. But I'm not proud to admit this, and a lot of people won't believe me, but that night that we won a national championship, I actually cried myself to sleep. You might be like, why? Like, weren't you like overjoyed? Yeah, like I was happy we won, like we reached that goal, but I was upset because I had actually lost my individual match. I didn't play very well. I was the only one on my team that didn't win my individual match. Thankfully, my teammates pulled me up and they won their matches, so we brought home the team victory. But yeah, I didn't feel like I did well. I didn't feel like I contributed. And who I was just so wrapped up in my success that I couldn't truly be happy and like be in that place of contentment and joy with my teammates. So that was the second point that I wanted to mention. And lastly, the third one was, okay, we're just going year by year now, my senior year now at this point, a year later. I mentioned, I started dating a man in college my sophomore year, and he was a great Catholic man, and by this point we'd been dating 2.5 years. Like, I was like, yeah, like we're gonna graduate, and like I'm gonna be playing pro, like we're gonna get engaged, get married, have a family, like it's gonna be great. Well, that didn't happen either, because a couple months before graduation, he comes back from spring break, breaks up with me. I'm just like, well, shoot, that train's crashed. But seriously, like these points, I mention these experiences because these are hard things I had to go through. And I've had many more experiences like this throughout my life, but I mention those because those were the first couple that really flipped my life around. And they were a turning point for me because in these seasons of trial and growth, I recognized something was wrong. You know, I thought my identity was firmly rooted in the Lord, but my reactions clearly showed me that I wasn't, that I took too much of who I was from one, my successes on the tennis court, and two, from other people. Like deep down, I don't think I thought I would be happy unless like I got married and had a family, or unless I succeeded, right, and achieved what I wanted. But I knew, that was a huge red flag, right? Because I knew that if I wasn't comfortable being alone with the Lord, I wasn't ready to get married. And if, because no man's gonna fulfill me, right? That's only for Christ. And even though like I thought I was truly rooted in a deep relationship with the Lord, if I truly knew my identity as beloved daughter, then I wouldn't be stressing about winning and losing tennis matches, right? So these were just huge red flags for me. It showed me that I was trying to control my future rather than rooting myself in my identity as beloved daughter. I was grasping, right? I was grasping for what I wanted rather than just receiving what God wanted to give me. And that's really important, girls. Like, I was grasping rather than receiving. And I knew the solution. In order to get to that place of surrender, I knew I needed to deepen my relationship with the Lord and let Him be enough for me. So what did I do? I began spending more time in personal prayer. I would journal with the Lord. I would go to adoration. I'd go to daily mass. I didn't always feel like it, no, but I knew what I needed to do. I knew this was the solution, so I forced myself to do it. And it's funny, as I forced myself to do these things and to make time and dedicate it to the Lord every single day, I realized who He was more deeply and who I was more deeply. And I realized, most importantly, that at the heart of all of my dreams was just a desire to be with Him. Like, my success on the tennis court was really just a desire to be seen and known. And my desire for a spouse to love me, a man, right? A husband, was just a desire to be pursued radically and wholeheartedly and intimately, right? These are good desires. These are good desires. But I realized I already had all of these things from my lover, Jesus Christ. Look at him on the cross up there. He came down for me. He nailed himself to a tree because he's like, Josie, I love you so much, right? Like that's how radical the love of the Lord is. It's crazy. I didn't need success in life. I didn't need a man to make me happy. Yeah, I'm married now, but my husband knows. I didn't marry him because I expect him to make me happy. No, that's not his role, that's the Lord's. We're walking with each other to heaven, right? All I needed to do is to receive the love that God wants to give me every single day. He was already pursuing me wholeheartedly, but I had to open myself to receive him. But to receive the Lord, in order to receive the Lord, I had to surrender control. And that's where this Marian dream mindset comes in. So, dreaming with Our Lady, if you open it up to your booklets, there's a little practical section. And there's 2 key points that I want to be talking about right now. And those are humility and dependence. Those are 2 keys to the Marian dream mindset. So, I want to talk about the first one, humility. So why is humility important? It's important because it shows us our place, right? There is a God and we are not him, right? If any of you guys are God, raise your hand. Good, okay, great. We're all in agreement, we're not God, okay? So if we're not God, we're meant to rely on God. And Mary, if we're looking at Our Lady as our role model, she knows her place, right? Okay, think about it, guys. So at the Annunciation, right, when the angel Gabriel came to Mary and said, you're going to be the mother of God, she was about your age. She was about 14, okay? So just imagine being in her shoes and the angel comes to you. Like, I'm sure she had other plans. She wasn't thinking like, yeah, I'm going to be the mother of God. I'm going to get pregnant at 14 and then like all the... No, like, I'm sure she had other dreams, right? But she allowed the Lord to reroute her, because she knew that she was not God, and she trusted God more than herself. Because with that American dream mindset, what we say a lot is, that my dreams and my plans are what's best for me, and I'm going to cling to them, and I'm going to go get them no matter what. It's not wrong to have dreams, but we can't idolize those dreams. We got to allow the Lord to give us what he wants for us. So humility. The second thing is dependence. So I feel like our society today and that American dream mindset kind of like emphasizes independence. Like, you do you, girl, like you got this, like you don't need anybody to hold you back, like go. But the truth is we're meant to be dependent on God, right? And sometimes he does give us people to help us, right? And we're not supposed to know or have all the answers. That's really important. We're actually supposed to live in the unknown. I know that's kind of seems really scary, but like we're like, no, I want to be in control. But like, no, we're actually not supposed to know the future. And Our Lady actually teaches us this because, again, at the Annunciation, right, the angel comes to her, tells her, you're going to be the mother of God. And then what does it say? At the end of Luke, it says, and then the angel departed from her. Period. All right, what do I do now? Like, I'm pregnant with God, and like, aren't you gonna give me a play-by-play? Like, honestly, And I think sometimes that's how we feel too, right? And I think sometimes we like to make plans so we feel like we're in control, but it's all facade. We're not meant to be in control. Guys, like, I feel this way every day. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. If you don't know what you're doing, raise your hand. Woo! Okay, you're right where you're meant to be. Okay? We're not supposed to know. We're not supposed to have a 5-year plan, a year plan. Like, sure, it's great to have dreams and plans, right? But it's all a facade because the Lord can do whatever he wants. So it's truly learning to be dependent on him for everything. So I want to mention I'm big on practical, so I want to mention 4 things that can be helpful for you girls in your own lives in implementing this, okay? And so the first one is to identify. Identify your dreams and desires. So we can't know what to give to the Lord unless we know what our desires are. So encourage you girls just to write them down. We're actually going to do some of that tonight. So identify. Secondly, we have to give. We have to give them to Jesus. Once we have our desires, we have to talk to him in prayer, grow in relationship, and give him those things. And again, the key is that humility and dependence. Thirdly, is to ask Jesus constantly. Jesus, like, what are the things you are calling me to do now? What things shouldn't I do right now, right? It's constant discernment of God, like, what do you want from me, what do you not? And then lastly, this is the most important part because it's the hardest, is to receive whatever he wants to give you, regardless of whether it's what you want or not, and then to surrender the rest, okay? And this is important because, it's easy to think like, oh, like, I'm giving my dreams to Jesus, he's gonna make all of them come true. Like, no, the Lord knows your desires, and he wants to fulfill the desires of your heart, but it might be in a different way than you expect, or it might not be right now. So we have to learn again, with humility, to receive whatever he wants to give. So how did this play out in my life and the rest of my story? So after college, I graduated and I started pursuing my professional tennis career. But again, learning from those few moments throughout college, I knew I didn't want to be in control. So I was like, prayed a prayer. I was like, Jesus, I invited him in, right? I was like, Jesus, I really want to play professional tennis. This has been my dream since I was 11, so I'm going to pursue this. But I give you permission. I give you permission to reroute me if it's not what you want. And I just kept praying that prayer, daily. Just be like, Lord, this is what you want. And about 6 months into playing pro, I just didn't feel peace. I was actually playing for a month of swing of tournaments in Greece. It was living the life, right? Playing on a resort in Greece, like my family was there. I was like playing really well. I was like, this is the life. But it's funny because I still came back to my hotel room at night and had this sinking feeling in my heart, like, is this all there is to professional tennis? I just felt God calling me to more, to work for the church in a bigger way, and to share my faith in just a more tangible way. So I was like, again, so I was doing what I just shared with you girls. So I invited him in. I'm asking, okay, Jesus, like, what do you want from me? What should I do now? What shouldn't I do? So I was like, oh, well, I could apply to some Catholic jobs and then keep playing tennis. I'll keep playing tennis because I don't have a job yet, so I'm not gonna like stop that yet. And God, like, if you want me to go somewhere else, like, you're gonna have to drop a job in my lap. So I kept playing tennis and kept surrendering to the Lord, and a couple months later, he dropped a job from the University of Notre Dame into my lap. And I mean, I'd applied and stuff, but I hadn't really tried to get the job, and it just kind of like happened. I was like, what? You offered me the job? What? So I had a choice, and I chose to leave tennis and jump into the unknown and trust that God was going to come through. So I moved up to Notre Dame for about a year, and I moved away from all my family, all my friends. I wasn't playing tennis anymore. I was working a desk job. Like, it was a very isolating time. But the only comfort I had there was Jesus, which is so beautiful. It was like he pulled me into the desert with him. And it was really hard, but really beautiful, because it was there that I was able to be okay with just him and him alone. And I finally got to the point at the end of that year that I remember praying a prayer and being like, I was actually sitting at Holy Family. I was home for Christmas, and I said, Jesus, even if you never give me anything I want, I'm okay. Like, I have you. It's all good. And that beautiful prayer, it's funny because I remember from that moment, he actually started giving me things that I wanted and like fulfilling desires in my heart. So a couple months later, I talked to Father David. He brought me back here. I started this job at Holy Family. I moved back to Florida, near my family. And then about 9 months after leaving home, God threw me the biggest gift in my husband, Jack, who I married this past February. And I share all these things because it wasn't until I like truly was just like, Lord, like whatever you want, that the Lord started fulfilling those desires in my heart. I would not be living the life I had though if I hadn't surrendered. You know, I'd probably still be stubbornly pursuing my dream of tennis and being like, oh, like I want to be happier and like I want this and that, right? Like, no, we have to just surrender and let go. If I didn't let go, I wouldn't be where I am. And girls, the truth is that like, this is what I found in my own life is God wants to take you on an adventure. Like, who doesn't love adventures? Do you love adventures? I love adventures. I love surprises too. I know not everybody loves surprises, but the Lord wants you to surprise you with the adventure of a lifetime. But how is He supposed to do that if we're trying to tell Him what the adventure is? You know? Like, we have to let Him create that adventure for us. And sure, like, the Lord filled a lot of the desires on my heart, but I still have so many more. I always will, and so will you. There's always things that we're going to want in this life. There's things right now that, like, I desire. So this isn't like a daily, like, or this isn't like a one and done, like, all right, Jesus, here's my dreams, and like, whatever, here's my desires, whatever. No, it's like daily. It's daily we have to get on our knees and just speak to the Lord, open our hearts to Him and be like, Jesus, this is how I'm feeling, you know? Like, I really want this. I'm struggling with this today. You know, I do that all the time. Literally, my weeks are like emotional roller coasters sometimes, but it's just like giving my heart to the Lord. But, so those 4 things. What are those 4 things He said? We're going to identify dreams. Then what? Give them to Jesus. 3. Yep, ask Him what He wants. And 4, hardest and most important? Receive whatever He gives you. That's right. Girls, I don't want to control my life anymore. I really don't. Like, it's so much more fun when, like, I just let Jesus take the wheel. I'm like, oh, we should play Carrie Underwood. Anyways, I just hear lyrics in my head. But no, it's so much more fun and joyful and life-giving when I just let go. Like, literally just, like, sit there with open arms. I do this in prayer a lot, and sometimes in Mass, I'm just like, because it's true, like, that's meant to be our posture. We're meant to be receptive. As women especially, God made us to receive. And that's what Mary does. She receives with open arms. So I just invite you guys tonight to enter more deeply into that. Jesus wants to take you on an adventure with Him, but we have to let Him. And it starts with this Marian dream mindset. Okay? So you girls ready to have some fun? All right, we're going to dream a little bit. Is that okay? Okay. So you guys have little papers on your it says My Dreams. Okay? So I want you to get in groups of 3 or 4, and there's some pens and colored pencils and things on your table, and I want you girls to spend some time discussing and reflecting on what are some desires on my heart. They can be big, they can be small, they can, whatever you want them to be. And I want you to write them down. And then I want you to decorate it, make it look pretty, whatever you want. We'll have about 15 minutes or so. And then we're going to go to a time of adoration in the church, right? And in adoration, there's actually going to be a little basket in the front next to the kneeler, right in front of Jesus. And at some point during adoration, I want you girls to actually take these dreams, and I want you to give them to Jesus, okay? Put them in the basket and surrender them to Him. Let that be, maybe you've never done this before. Maybe you're clinging and trying to control your life. I struggle with that every day, but that's even more of a reason why you just bring it to the Lord. So we're going to ask Him what He wants and just make that offering to Him and say, here's my heart, Lord. That sound good? Okay. So I'll put on some music, and we'll just get to dream a little bit for a little bit, and then we'll walk over to the church together. So spend some time dreaming and talking in your small groups about those dreams.